Dear Professor Gabriel and everyone else around the world who is watching this video. Hi, and welcome to our second video reflective diary. In this video, my teammate and classmate Martin Correa and myself, Matias Miranda, are going to present you during this video how was our very first intensive practicum. In terms of working conditions, the pros and cons, our weaknesses and our strengths, among other aspects and moments of our very first intensive practicum so far. Remember that as in the first video, our experience was completely online.
Well, as we mentioned all of this on the first video, so this just will be some sort of reminder. We are doing our practicum at Escuela Alejandro Guidi and state-run school of Linares. Our mentor teacher is Claudia Muñoz, and our students group is in one hand a first grade of elementary and in the other hand an 8th grade of elementary too.
Well, as we also mentioned it in the first video, we used to have classes every week. One week with a first grade of elementary, and in the next week or the other week we have classes with an 8th grade of elementary too. In some weeks we had to attend the evaluations instead of normal classes. So in those weeks we didn't teach anything, but we also learned other type of things, like how is the dynamic evaluating these learners, and in addition all of this in a virtual way, of course.
Basically, in all the weeks of processing practicum were very similar. First, we prepared a meeting 5 days before our class with our mentor teacher, with the finality to receive the instructions of the topics and learning outcomes necessary to create the class. During the weekends, my partner and I create a lesson plan. We always use the DIAM format or template format that is very simple and poor, to be honest, and objective in terms of requirements and criteria. Then we also create a PowerPoint presentation to use as a visual aid for us and as a guide for our students. That was the process basically.
As we said, in some classes Ms. Claudia Muñoz had to evaluate our students. So in those periods we just entered to the class to observe. But in the rest, and the majority of the classes too, we did all the procedure that we said before.
Regarding conditions, we can say that there was one condition that was equal for everyone. This condition was to have and live all this process at home, in a virtual way, behind the computer. Even though it was very difficult for us and everyone else, as we always say, due to this COVID-19 pandemic, there isn't another option to keep this practicum at school and face-to-face. So technically that was the main factor or condition that affected us and everyone, in fact, during this process.
Regarding other conditions during this period, all the students with the help of the school management could get a laptop and proper access to internet. So, as a consequence, every student was present in the majority of the classes. In our side, Martin and Miss Claudia live in their city, so they didn't have major issues in terms of connectivity. And even though I live in the countryside and my connection is very poor, I never had, luckily, major issues connecting to the practicum sessions during this semester. My pros and cons, and my weaknesses and my strengths of my work as a pre-service teacher will be the following. The pros are that I always was responsible with the plannings. I always attend classes at a very proper time. Also, I attend all the meetings with my mentor teacher. So, in summary, I would highlight my behavior during this practicum semester. Basically because I was very responsible and proactive. Regarding classes itself, I would say that one of my pros is that I am very self-critical. So when I made mistakes or when I took the time to think in my performances during the practicum sessions, I could easily realize the aspects that I had to improve. In other hand, my weaknesses are that due COVID-19 pandemic, I had to work from home as everyone in this practicum period. For this reason, the internet, that is the most important tool to perform well in this period, wasn't good enough for me sometimes. Even though luckily my connection was good on the sessions, I always had and I always felt the fear of have a very poor connection and cannot attend any of the classes or meetings. Other weaknesses of my work, in my opinion, was that I had to teach to a first grade of elementary. And as we all know too, we are part of the high school program, not the elementary. So it was very stressful, it was very uncomfortable, and it was even difficult to teach and or create materials and resources for 6 years old kids that can barely read Spanish. In addition, the curriculum for first grade students, of elementary of course, is very difficult from the curriculum for kids or teenagers from 12 to 17 or 18 years old, from 7th grade of elementary until 4th year of high school. So it made me feel very uncomfortable and frustrated in some occasions.
In this practicum process, I can feel that my strengths in class can be the capacity to understand the topics that we are reviewing in class. So with that, I can help the students to have a good performance in class. And at the same time, I can say that my weaknesses are mainly a lack of concentration that I used to present, and that problem sometimes makes me feel a little lost. And the other one can be the panic that sometimes invades me when I have to talk in front of class, and that can make my speaking skills a little rusty.
Dear all, thank you very much for your attention. Don't forget to keep social distance, to wear a mask, and stay at home as much as you can. Goodbye.